Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay Chan, and it is a very active weather day across the United States. We have a significant storm system developing that is going to affect nearly every corner of this country over the next several days, and I mean that literally. We are talking about a strong cold front dropping out of Canada, an active, severe weather corridor stretching from the southern plains all the way into the Great Lakes, a dangerous fire weather setup across the southwest and southern plains, a snow threat in the Rockies, record heat in the east, and then a frost threat returning behind the front by the middle of next week. This storm touches nearly every region and every hazard category on the board. So let us get right into the detailed breakdown because there is a lot to cover, and I want to make sure you know exactly what is coming for your specific area. Let us start with the overall setup because understanding the big picture is what tells you why the system is as significant as it is. We have a trough dropping southeastward out of the Pacific Northwest and deepening into the Great Basin as we go into Sunday evening and especially Monday morning before it ejects northeast toward the upper Midwest early next week. Attached to that upper level trough is a strong cold front, and I want to emphasize the word strong here because this is not a garden variety frontal passage. The temperature contrast on either side of this front is dramatic. We are talking about record heat ahead of it from the southern plains through the mid-Atlantic and northeast, and then behind it, bitter cold air dropping out of Canada into the northern plains that will eventually bring frost and freeze conditions back to the Dakotas, Nebraska, and Minnesota by the middle of next week. This is a dynamic, high-energy storm system, and it is going to make its presence known from coast to coast. Now let us get into the severe weather details because that is the primary concern for this weekend. Today, we have an enhanced risk in orange from the Front Range of northeast Colorado into southwestern and southern Nebraska and parts of northwestern Kansas. If you are in that enhanced risk zone, you need to be on high alert this afternoon and evening for potentially significant severe weather. Numerous severe storms are likely in that corridor. We also have a slight risk in yellow covering eastern Nebraska, Iowa, northern Missouri, western Illinois, and a small area near Lexington, Kentucky, where scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible. And then a marginal risk in dark green extends even further out, covering a large area from Colorado all the way to West Virginia. So the bottom line for today is that a very large portion of the central United States is under some level of severe weather threat, and nobody in that footprint should be taking this afternoon lightly. The storm parameters for today are already impressive. We are seeing 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of surface-based instability or storm fuel building across the plains and Midwest this afternoon. Those yellows and oranges on the instability maps represent a very charged atmosphere that is ready to support severe thunderstorms. The main concerns today are damaging winds, large hail, and a flash flooding threat, particularly near Kansas City and northern Missouri, where upper-level dynamics are weaker, meaning storms will move slowly and drop heavy rainfall over the same areas repeatedly. That slow storm motion is what makes the flash flooding threat so real today alongside the severe weather threat. Northern Missouri and the Missouri-Iowa border region are areas I am watching very closely for flash flooding tonight and into Sunday morning. The radar timing today shows scattered showers and storms already developing across downstate Illinois into the St. Louis metro this afternoon. By mid to late afternoon, around 3 to 4 p.m., we're going to be watching for individual storm cells firing near and just east of Kansas City. Those storms could produce significant hail and damaging winds as they organize. Back into Nebraska and northern Kansas, a complex of storms will race eastward through Iowa and northern Missouri overnight, bringing additional heavy rainfall on top of what falls during the afternoon. The flash flooding risk is real overnight tonight, and if you live near any low-lying areas or creeks in northern Missouri, southern Iowa, or back toward the Kansas City metro, please have a plan in place before you go to bed tonight. Now Sunday, May 17th, is the day that really gets my attention, and here is why. The storm fuel on Sunday is significantly higher than today. We are looking at 4,000 or more joules per kilogram of surface-based instability across the warm sector on Sunday. Those purple colors on the instability maps represent an extremely charged atmosphere. If a storm develops in this kind of environment, it will become severe very quickly. We are talking about supercells capable of intense tornadoes, very large hail, and destructive wind gusts. The enhanced risk on Sunday covers central and eastern Nebraska, parts of southeast South Dakota, Minnesota, and western Iowa. Big cities at risk on Sunday include Minneapolis, St. Paul, Des Moines, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, and all the way up toward Marquette, Michigan. Millions of Americans are in the threat zone on Sunday, and this is the day where we could see some truly significant severe weather. The radar timing on Sunday shows the day starting with some morning showers across Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, and northern Illinois. Then, Sunday afternoon, the main event begins. Supercells are going to fire from Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska through the Salina, Kansas area, Dodge City, and perhaps back toward Enid and Elk City, on into Zmaz, Oklahoma during the mid to late afternoon hours. These supercells could produce intense tornadoes from late afternoon into the early evening on Sunday. That is the window I'm most concerned about. Eventually, these storms will evolve into a complex that lifts toward Iowa and Missouri overnight Sunday. Additional storms could also fire in central Texas near San Antonio overnight Sunday into Monday morning, posing a damaging wind and hail risk down there, though coverage will be more spotty across the southern plains due to capping. And before we move into Monday and Tuesday, I need to address the fire weather situation because it is genuinely dangerous, and it deserves your full attention if you live in the affected region. Today, we have elevated fire weather concerns, covering areas from Las Vegas through Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and into Amarillo. There's even a dry thunderstorm risk today across the Texas and Oklahoma panhandle where lightning could spark new fires without producing any meaningful rainfall. Then, on Sunday, the fire weather threat escalates dramatically. We have critical fire weather in red, extremely critical fire weather in magenta from southwest Kansas into eastern New Mexico, the Oklahoma panhandle, and the Texas panhandle, including Amarillo on Sunday. Open burning is not recommended across this entire region. Wildfires can spread at a very rapid rate with humidity values dropping into the teens and 20s, and wind gusts cranking up over 40 miles per hour on Sunday. The drought monitor released this past Thursday shows severe, extreme, and exceptional drought across the Texas panhandle, Oklahoma panhandle, and parts of New Mexico and Colorado. The fuels out there are bone dry. Any fire that gets started in these conditions will spread very quickly. Please be on high alert if you are in any of these areas this weekend. Now let us move into the early week because Monday and Tuesday are absolutely days you need to have on your radar. Monday brings another enhanced risk of severe weather from Des Moines and central Iowa, back down to the Kansas City metro, Lincoln, Nebraska, Topeka, and Wichita, extending into the northwestern Oklahoma City metro area. A large yellow slight risk zone spreads from Marquette, Michigan, all the way down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The instability on Monday is again showing over 4,000 joules per kilogram across the warm sector in violet colors. Dew point temperatures across the warm sector on Monday are running in the upper 60s and low 70s, which represents enormous moisture content in the atmosphere. That moisture combined with the instability and wind shear associated with the approaching cold front creates a prime environment for severe weather. The mode on Monday may be a bit messier and more complex compared to Sunday's more discrete supercell setup, but do not let that fool you. A messy or complex storm mode does not mean a safe storm mode. Squall lines and bow echoes that develop in high instability environments like Monday can produce widespread damaging and destructive winds across very large areas simultaneously, and embedded supercells within those lines can still produce tornadoes. The scattered severe weather threat on Monday also extends across Michigan, Illinois, and Missouri with damaging and destructive winds, large hail, and the possibility of tornadoes across that entire corridor stretching back into northeast Texas. Monday is a day with a very large geographic footprint for severe weather, and millions of people need to be paying attention. Tuesday, May 19th, is the next day that needs to be on your radar. Areas from Detroit and Lansing, Michigan, through Fort Wayne, St. Louis, Branson, Missouri, Tulsa, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and back to the Oklahoma City metro are all on high alert for severe weather on Tuesday. The cold front continues pushing eastward on Tuesday, bringing more rounds of severe thunderstorms. While the instability on Tuesday is not quite as extreme as Monday or Sunday, it only takes around 1,000 joules per kilogram to support severe weather, and we will have that and more across the Tuesday risk area. This risk could expand and upgrade as we get closer to the day, so definitely keep watching for updates. Now, let us talk temperatures, because this system is producing a wild temperature contrast across the country. Ahead of the cold front today, we have summer-like and even record heat building across the middle of the country and into the east. Triple-digit heat and record highs are being observed in Amarillo and across West Texas today. Omaha is in the low 90s. Des Moines hitting the mid-80s. That extreme heat ahead of the front is actually fueling the severe weather threat by loading the atmosphere with instability. By Monday and Tuesday, that record heat shifts eastward with New York City, potentially touching the low 90s on Tuesday. The overnight lows are offering little relief with temperatures staying in the 60s and 70s across much of the east through Tuesday morning. Even Detroit could see mid-60-degree lows early next week. But behind the front, it is a completely different story. Record cold temperatures are dropping across Montana, Wyoming, and the Nebraska Panhandle, with mid and upper 20s possible in the higher elevations. A frost and freeze risk will return to portions of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota, and even northern Wisconsin by the middle of next week. If you have tender plants in the ground across the northern tier, you may need to cover them up again as we get into the middle of next week. Looking further out toward the end of May, the rainfall totals from this entire system through Sunday, May 24th are going to be significant across the central United States. Multiple inches of rainfall are possible from the Corn Belt all the way down through Texas Hill Country and coastal Texas, and that could lead to flooding concerns in areas that receive repeated rounds of heavy rain over several days. The horseshoe temperature pattern developing for the final days of May shows warmer than normal conditions across the northern tier, while normal to below normal temperatures settle across the outer edges, including the west coast, Gulf Coast, and eastern seaboard due to increased cloud cover and rainfall. And as we flip the calendar into June, the pattern looks hot across the west. The west coast, the Rockies, and the plains are all trending hot and steamy heading into June. The monsoon flow begins to open up across Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas, and into Colorado and Utah. 3. And a northwest flow pattern setting up over Canada into the Great Lakes region raises the threat for derechos later toward Father's Day weekend and beyond. A derecho is a fast-moving line of storms associated with widespread damaging straight-line winds, and in extreme cases, those winds can exceed 100 miles per hour, which can devastate crops across the Midwest. That is a concern worth watching as we head deeper into the summer months. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe weather alerts this weekend and into early next week. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and I will have another full update for you very soon.